Hi everyone. It's the holiday and I have family over, and the children are playing. So I apologize in advance if you hear something crazy going on downstairs in the background. I also don't have my stand set up, so I'm kind of winging it today. But bear with me. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining, and thank you for your patience and waiting for me for a week. This is What the Insurance, episode 8. Today, we are going to talk about emergency medical options. So we're going to start off talking about the emergency room, okay? A lot of people opt for the emergency room in the case of an urgent situation. And what I've even been told from just talking to my friends is like, oh, I don't need insurance. I'll just go to the emergency room if something happens. But nobody really knows how much it costs to go to the emergency room, like how expensive it is to go to the emergency room. So recently, my husband went to the emergency room. And you guys know from previous videos, we have the HSA this year. And with the HSA, you have to pay 100% of everything until you met your deductible. So he got his first bill that had his emergency room bill. And he's like, what is this? Why does it cost so much money? Luckily, we have money in our health savings account so we could cover that. But it was eye-opening for him to realize how much it really costs for him to just go in the emergency room, and they gave him a prescription patch for the pain and sent him home. And he's like, what is this bill? So yes, emergency rooms are super expensive and people don't realize how much they are. Now, I'm not saying don't go to the emergency room when your arm is hanging out of the socket, right? Go to the emergency room. But if you have other options, then let's talk about that. Let's go to the urgent care center. You have your pharmacy clinics like the Walgreens clinic, the CVS clinic, and you also have telemedicine as well as doctor's office visits. We're going to talk about all of those alternative options. The emergency room is still a very viable option when you are in an emergency. And the good thing to note about emergency rooms is that most insurance companies will have it be the same cost in and out of network. Thank you, bro. The same cost in and out of network, which means nobody can control where an ambulance is going to take you, right? If you have to go to the emergency room. So a lot of insurance companies understand that. They're like, we're not going to charge you, an inflated cost because you went to an out of network hospital. So you're usually going to have the same cost in and out of network. But you're going to pay for a lot of things at the emergency room that you may not be aware of. So you're going to pay for what we call specialists or ologists in insurance. So you have your neurologist, your anesthesiologist, your cardiologist. Those are all the ologists. So if you go to the emergency room, you may be subject to see one of those doctors that you don't even realize that you're seeing because you may be unconscious. You may be in a situation you can't control, but you may have to pay separately outside of your emergency room cost for those doctors. You also may pay for prescriptions. Medicine that may cost you a few dollars at the pharmacy may cost an arm and a leg at the emergency room. So the cost may be the same in and out of network, but it's going to be a more increased cost if you are going to the emergency room versus some of your other options. Okay. So why is the emergency room so expensive? Well, 3 reasons I can note. Number 1, transparency. Not a lot of people ask questions, so these facilities get away with it. They get away with charging us an arm and a leg for emergency room visits because nobody's asking the right questions. Okay. The second reason, charges. Well, like I said before, they're going to charge you for every little thing from a splint to a Tylenol they give you for the pain. You're going to be charged for every little thing, and that inflates the cost. And then lastly, supply and demand. If we're continuing to go, then they continue to get away with it. So as long as we're going to the emergency room and using that as our backup care facility, other than the doctor's office, then they're going to continue to charge because we are going and we are paying. Okay. So let's talk about some alternative options. Urgent care. Most insurance plans will cover ER visits in and out of network. Like I said, urgent care, you have to make sure it's in your network. You want to be careful that you're not going to an urgent care facility outside of your network. But if you find an urgent care facility that's in the network, these are not the pharmacy clinics I'm referring to. There are urgent care facilities like Advocate has one, Amita Health has them. Look for one that's in your network and try to visit any urgent care facility if it's not an emergency. Here are some of the things urgent care facilities can cover. Allergic reactions, asthma treatments, cuts, burns, and bruises, falls and sprains. They can do wraps as well, cold and flu symptoms, eye and ear infections. They can also, a lot of the places can also do imaging like x-rays. Now most of them cannot do more detailed imaging like CAT scans and MRIs, but A lot of places can do x-rays. So an urgent care facility may be a good alternative option if it's not an emergency room situation. But you want to make sure you're going to an in-network facility. The other thing I mentioned earlier was pharmacy clinics, okay? Like your Walgreens clinics, your CVS clinics, even some Targets have clinics. They can also treat some of those situations that may not be necessary for an emergency room. Like minor illnesses and injuries, they can do screening and monitoring. They can also do vaccinations as well as like wellness physicals for kids' schools. They can check for blood pressure. So if you're at home and you're feeling the symptoms of high blood pressure and you don't have a cuff at home, you can always visit one of those clinics to have your blood pressure checked. There's usually no cost for that. Now, the thing is, with these clinics, they usually cannot do x-rays or imaging. So if it's something that may require an MRI or CAT scan, you may want to go to the emergency room. But if it's one of those things I mentioned before, where you can use a pharmacy clinic instead of emergency room, that cost is going to be a little less expensive. Now, again, you want to make sure you're going in your network. Do not go to an out-of-network pharmacy clinic. You may be subjected to the whole cost, okay? But if you're going in network, you're going to get the best bang for your buck. And a lot of these places also have discounts depending on what it is. So if it's like a special vaccination season, like going back to school, that kind of thing, sometimes they offer discounts on those. So call before you go, but that's another alternative option for you, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is the doctor's office. What? Yes, the doctor's office. A lot of people don't know, but your doctor's office usually has emergency visit slots available. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Most doctor's offices schedule time slots throughout the day so that they can have space to fit in emergency visits. So if it's something that's very important where you may not necessarily need to go to the ER, call your doctor's office, speak to a nurse. If it's urgent, they will fit you in, or they will try to get you in for the next day if it's something that can wait. Okay, so always try calling your doctor's office before you go to the emergency room. Obviously, like I said before, if your arm is hanging out of the socket or you're in an ambulance, don't have them take you to your doctor's office. But if it's something that you know does not require an emergency room visit, try calling your doctor's office first, okay? The last thing I want to talk about, I'm going to speak to the millennials today, although, some people who are millennials may be hip to this as well, but this is called telemedicine. Telemedicine, guys. This thing saved my life, okay? Not literally, but I love telemedicine. You may refer to it as virtual visits. You may have even heard of Teladoc. A lot of insurance plans are now offering this standard for some of their standard plans. But this is a really good feature to have. Ask your HR, do you have telemedicine available to you? Okay. What it is an app or a website, but usually it's on an app, a phone app that you can use where you can talk directly to a licensed physician. Now, if it's offered through your insurance, you don't have to worry about if it's in or out of network. They're going to only give you in-network physicians. You can talk to a licensed physician either on the phone or even a video chat, okay? You can video chat a licensed physician and they can diagnose you over the phone for some acute or minor illnesses or injuries. And they can even send your prescription directly to your pharmacy from your bed. Okay, listen, take it from a parent or a mother of two. How many of you guys have sat in the emergency room with your kids all night long waiting to be seen? Okay, nobody enjoys that. I've done it a few times. If it's something that a telemedicine doctor can do and diagnose over the phone, it will save you some time. You can sit at home in the comfort of your bed, talk to a doctor, tell them your symptoms. If it's something they can see, they can video chat, diagnose you, and send you a prescription right to your pharmacy without you having to wait in a line or worry about being out of network, okay? Here are some of the things telemedicine doctors can treat: eye and ear infections, cold and flu symptoms, sore throats, headaches, allergies, rashes. If you have a rash, they can look at it and see, what it is and what kind of prescription it may require, antibiotic or cream. They can send that to your pharmacy and you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home. This is good if you're out on the road, if you're traveling. Rather than trying to find an emergency room or urgent care center or a doctor in network, use your telemedicine app. And it can help you if it's something acute or minor, and they'll send a prescription where you are. It doesn't have to be near your home. If it's near your job, like I said, if you're traveling, you're on the road, they can send a prescription to your nearest pharmacy. It does not have to be near your home. So what's the scoop, right? Why are we having this video? I wanted to give you guys a lot of information about alternative options for emergency care. Again, if it's emergent, if you are in an ambulance, if you're unconscious, if you can't help yourself, Go to the emergency room. I am not telling you not to go. I just want you to be knowledgeable before you go. Okay? Go to the emergency room if it's emergent. If it's not emergent and it's something that you can treat by going to an urgent care center or a pharmacy clinic or your doctor's office or a telemedicine licensed physician, then try those options first if they're available to you. They're going to cost you less money. Another thing to note about telemedicine real quick before we exit, a lot of insurance companies will offer it for free or even a lower copay than maybe even a doctor's office because they want to encourage you to use that option rather than going to the emergency room. Those emergency room claims, they add up. And you guys may not see the cost if you're on a PPO or HMO plan and you're just paying a copay, but your job, your employer who's paying that premium for you will see that impact to their claims. So they may offer you telemedicine for free if they're trying to lower those claims. Okay, so make sure you check your alternative options, see what you have available to you, talk to human resources, ask questions. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions, but that's all for today's video. Thank you for joining me. Join me next week. We will talk about preventive care. It's one of my favorite insurance subjects to talk about. Preventive care next week. Like me on Instagram. Follow me at what_the_insurance. Sorry, I forgot for a moment. At what_the_insurance. Follow me on Instagram. Like my post. You can also like and subscribe to my YouTube page. Link is in the description below. And join me next week. Thank you guys. Enjoy your 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Take care.